Say hello to the new members of the Parkside Performance 12-volt family. I couldn't afford to buy all of them, however I think I bought the most interesting ones. We've got the new high-power 5-amp battery, we've got the impact driver, we've got the hammer drill, we've got the SDS 12-volt drill, and the brushless cut-off tool / grinder. Now before we begin testing, I have a little favor to ask. Please, if you could, like the video, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so, because, well, I did spend a bit too much than I should have, really. So, I hope you enjoy the video. First up, a quick test to see if the new 5-amp battery is better than the old 5-amp battery. I'll be using the 12-volt impact wrench on some wheel bolts. Max settings, 200 Newton meters, which should be just about the upper limit for bolts on car wheels. First up, the old 5-amp battery, mode 4. Time for the new 5-amp battery. I do have high hopes for this. Don't let me down, Parkside. Mode 4. I didn't really find a noticeable difference, however, we'll see in the edit. Actually, you know what? I think we should also give the old 4-amp batteries a go. Should be said that all batteries are fully charged. All batteries were fully charged, and before anyone says anything, let's check the voltage now. This is the old 4-amp, this is the old 5-amp, and this is the new 5-amp. So far, the new 5-amp I think is, well, I wouldn't say much better. However, in this scenario, it was better than the old 4-amp. However, probably equal to the old 5-amp. How stupid am I going to feel when in the edit it turns out that this was like 2 seconds faster? But anyway, let's keep going. So then, what do we have next? Well, what we have is this, the new 12-volt hammer drill, brushless motor, as with every single one of the 12-volt Parkside Performance tools in this video. You get 2 speeds, speed 1 and speed 2, some clutch settings, actually fewer clutch settings than on the 20-volt performance version, and also fewer clutch settings than on the 12-volt Parkside Performance C3 regular drill. So 13 on this. However, you do get a hammer mode. In terms of weight, this new 12-volt hammer drill is around the 1 kilo mark, which is a bit less than the 20-volt drill driver and a bit on the heavier side compared to the 12-volt performance drill driver. However, both the 20-volt and the 12-volt that I'm comparing it against have no hammer function. Let's go into speed 2 and test how noisy this thing is. Compare that to the other Parkside 12-volt performance drill, also on speed 2. And again on speed 2, the 20-volt drill driver. Looks like this is the middle of the road. However, as I'm holding it like this, just feels a bit too heavy in the hand. And I think that might be the case because I'm used to these two. And this one, even with the 4-amp battery, feels lighter than this with the new 2.5 amp. Now let's stick some drill bits into this and see what it's really like. Starting off with drilling in wood. This is a 16mm auger drill bit. Let's see how it does. Speed 2. does bog down a bit with the 2.5 amp. Let's try it with the 5 amp. .35mm bit. I have put the new 2.5 amp battery back on because I want to try drilling into this sheet of metal. It has a thickness of 3mm. And this is the big one, 12mm. And we're still going with the new 2.5 amp battery. So this is a piece of that steel, as you can see, around the 3mm mark. And we've managed to drill through it with a 2.5 amp battery and a metal drill bit that has a diameter of 12mm. Do you know what? I call that a win. And these are the holes that we managed to make. See? Not bad. Not bad at all, Parkside. Show me something that's better than this at this price point. Well, that said, we need to try the hammer function. May end up being a disaster. And we need to drive in a screw or two. And now it's time to remove the chuck, insert our bit, and drive a couple of screws. We've got a 6x160 and an 8x160mm. That was all that speed 2 had in it, going down to speed 1. Onto the thicker 8x160 screw. Let's test out the hammer mode, which is really meant for small stuff on this sort of drill. So, starting off with a 6mm drill bit. .8mm drill bit. That was speed 2 on the new 2.5 amp battery. I can tell you this much. Most definitely, this is the best performing hammer drill at this price point. And that's why I did not compare it to this, which is just a drill driver, or this, because this is just a drill driver, a 20-volt one, albeit a lot bigger. I own all 3 of these, and I can tell you this, I'm most likely to reach for this one, now that I have it. Let me know what you think about this drill down in the comments. By the way, this was the piece of concrete that we drilled into. So that should be more than enough for all your home needs. For anything more than that, you need this. The Parkside Performance 12-volt rotary hammer drill. Has a hammer function, a hammer drilling function, and regular drilling. And it also comes with an SDS to regular chuck adapter, as well as a couple of SDS drill bits, some driving bits, and regular wood drilling bits. And I think that as this is a brushless model, we should compare it against this. It's 20-volt brother. performance version, brushless as well. This has 2 speeds, this has only the 1. The 20-volt version with the 4-amp battery comes in at a massive 3 kilos and 300 grams. Whereas the 12-volt with the 5-amp battery is around half that. Noise test on speed 2 for this one, and hammer drilling mode. Well, you can call me surprised. The 20-volt version is quieter than the 12-volt version. Parkside advertised this as having 3 joules of impact energy, whereas this only has around 1.1. Let's stick to 6mm SDS drill bits in these and see what they're capable of. "12mm drill bit in concrete." This is some very hard concrete, as you can see by the stuck drill bits. Let's give it a go with the 10mm SDS drill bit. Let's test it out with a chisel, the 12-volt on hammer mode, 5-amp battery. So unlike with the drills, where you can use this one as your primary drill, in this case, I'm not so sure. I think this is a compromise. This has all the power that you need, and in a tool like this, you really do need the power. So unless your primary concern is low weight, I still go for this one. However, this is actually not bad for a 12-volt system and for the weight that it has. If you're working on a roof, for example, this is not a bad choice. However, don't expect too much of it, because really the power is a limitation for it. In terms of performance, I think this 12-volt performance rotary hammer drill is really close to this 20-volt version brushed hammer drill from Parkside. That said, considering the price, if you've got the 12-volt battery system anyway, yeah, I don't need it, but I got it because I've got a problem. With all of that said, have a look at how it performs in a brick, which is most likely the scenario this will be most used for. 12mm SDS drill bit. And in terms of chiseling, it's basically nowhere. It can't really do too much. Well, I suppose you can break a tile in half, or a brick. However, that's not what you want to use it for, is it? And unlike on the big brother of this, there isn't a way to position the chisel. So when you put it in hammer mode, that's how it stays. There is a way to get around that. You can turn it over to drilling mode, and then you can position this. However, I feel that's a bit half-hearted, isn't it? So if you're using it for concrete, given some special circumstances, it's all right. However, if you're using it for drilling holes in brick with the 12mm SDS drill bit, it actually did not perform badly at all. I think at this size and price, again, you can't do better for this sort of money. Next up, the Parkside 12-volt impact driver. Looks promising. I'll be testing it against its 20-volt brother, the PD SSAP C3. 20-volt, 4 modes on this, and 4 modes on this. This is rated at 226 Newton meters. This is rated at 170, if memory serves me right. This is with the 20-volt 4-amp battery. This is with the new 12-volt 5-amp battery. In terms of weight, the 20-volt version comes in at just above a kilo. Should be mentioned, that's without the battery. And at around 200 grams lighter, the 12-volt version, again without the battery. Mode 4, noise test. The 20-volt version is most definitely louder and heavier. Now, let's get into testing. In terms of testing, I will be driving different screws, starting with 8x60. Both tools are on max settings. 6x120mm. 8x120mm. 6x160mm. Eight by 160mm. And finally, these are M8 by 100mm. Once again, love the small form factor this has. And surprisingly, in terms of power, it's not that far behind the 20-volt version. So considering its small form factor, again, if you're in the market for something small with reasonable power, because I think what it showed is reasonable, this is a very good option. And it sits well in the hand as well. Let me know which one you prefer down in the comments. And this might come back to haunt me, however, I feel this is quite nicely built. And by the way, do you remember this video? So I think I may have saved the best for last. The new Parkside 12-volt Performance cutoff tool. It can rotate in both directions, which you select from this switch here. I'll be comparing it against the 20-volt 76mm Parkside cutoff tool / grinder. And by the way, this performance version also came with this adapter. However, we're not getting into that today. We'll just be cutting through some metals. So the new tool comes in at just above 1 kilo. The old one, about 150 grams heavier. This is a brushless version, whereas this is a brushed version. No quick stop here, whereas there is a quick stop on the performance version. Now let's cut some stuff. We've got a piece of steel, 3mm thickness, which we need to cut through, and a couple of rods that we need to cut through, including one made out of the favorite material of influencers all over, a material the newest iPhones are made out of, titanium. Aluminium and brass 6mm rods, that's 6mm in diameter. aluminium and steel rods that are 1 centimeter / 10 millimeters in diameter. Well, this wasn't even a competition, was it? And I'll let you in on a little secret. On this, I put a brand new 4-amp battery before I started using it. Whereas with this, I continued using the 5-amp battery that I've been using so far on all the other tests. I absolutely love this thing. It never stopped and it never even bogged down. Whereas this, well, it found everything above the 6mm diameter rods a bit difficult, really. Whereas this, well, I think I am in love. So then, what do you think of Parkside's new stuff? This is the star of the show for me. This cutoff tool is absolutely amazing. I did have a post earlier that 50 euros for this might be a bit much because that's how much it cost in, I believe it was the Netherlands. I bought it for 30. However, after I tried it, I'd even pay 50 for it. Don't get any ideas, little. Small impact driver, again, decent. This, I love this. I mean, okay, it feels a bit heavy in the hand. However, if this can do something like 90 to 95% of the work you're doing with a hammer drill, a competitor for this would be the Milwaukee. However, why would I test it against that? I mean, this is like a fraction of the price, whereas that's really, really expensive. And as a drill, it is 45 Newton meters, which actually I believe, and that's more than the other Parkside 12-volt drill, which would be this one, 30 Newton meters. This one is said to have around 45, and I can believe that. With the new 2.5 amp battery, I find it a really nice balance between power and weight, and with the 5 amp battery, I believe it's fantastic. What about this? Well, this has been out for a while. It's the Parkside 12-volt impact wrench. I'm not a big fan of this because I don't think it delivers that much power. However, if you've got the 5-amp battery, they've lowered the price on this from 77 euros, I believe it was, to about 50 euros. So for something like that, yeah, I could see myself, had I not bought this, investing into this, because for some small stuff, as with all of this, yeah, should be fine. Now, the other thing is the new Parkside Performance charger. It's said to be a 6-amp charger. However, when I got all of this, I charged the old batteries with this, I charged the new batteries with this, and some of the batteries are charged with my old charger, which is, I believe, a 2.4 amp, and they charge in about the same time, so I don't know what to tell you. But this has an inbuilt fan, so better heat dissipation, I suppose. And it also says it on the box. Look, charging time for a 2.5 amp battery, approximately 55 minutes. So they sell you this charger with this battery, which you can charge in an hour. However, I think it's meant more for the 5 amp battery. If it can charge that in an hour, then fine, I can justify paying for that. However, if it charges that in 2 hours, I'm better off sticking with my old charger. I do get the feeling that this charger was a bit of an afterthought, and I'll show you why. This is the case from the impact driver, okay? Charger fits in there nicely. This is the case from the impact wrench. How does that work? Because when you try to do this, it's not really thought through, is it? But yeah, that's just an inconvenience and not really much of an issue. And again, as I said in the beginning, because I've spent so much for all this stuff for you to see, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment down below, so as to do nice stuff to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.